Welcome back everybody, welcome back to the Willow Creek subdivision. My name is Scott. The Willow Creek subdivision, as you know, if you saw my last videos, is no more, so that'll be the last time that I introduce it as the Willow Creek sub. I just want to tell that to my subscribers and the like that we'll be changing the name of the layout, as I have started off completely fresh, different scale, different country, and so on. So the layout from now on, the channel is going to be called the Central Otago Railway, and it's going to be focused on my S-scale NZR New Zealand Railways layout build. So you want to see more? Stick around and we'll get into it and I'll show you what I've been up to. Okay, so just before we get stuck into showing you what I've been up to there, a little bit of background on the layout here. It's obviously set in New Zealand, and it's the place I'm leaning against here is a town that I'm calling Clyde. Now Clyde is a town in Central Otago, and it was a railway town. And in two times in its life, Clyde was a terminus for the railway that went through there. The first time is in the construction of the line, before the line was put through quite a large gorge to another place called Cromwell. Clyde used to be the terminus at that stage. Until the railway opened up in Cromwell. The railway lasted up until Cromwell until around about the 80s, late 80s I believe, and a large hydroelectric power station was built in the gorge, so the line had to close, and that brought the line back to Clyde and become the terminus of the Central Otago Railway for the second time. This time that the Clyde became the terminus, a new yard was laid to help with the construction of the Clyde Dam, for bringing in materials and that. And the yard was laid in sort of like an industrial sort of, there was no passenger station there when they built the new terminus. It was not intended for passengers at all. So it was basically an industrial switching yard that was based there, and that's where I've based this model off that I'm trying to model here. Now it's not done to any specific track plan or anything. It's a fictional track plan that I've just made up. I'm just using the name Clyde as a name, and yeah, so I've been the last couple of days been laying some track and wiring it all up and testing it. I have with me two of my DJ class locomotives just behind me here, and I've been using them for testing, and everything, fingers crossed, seems to be going alright so far. So we'll get on and we'll show you what I've been doing in the Clyde yard, and show you what's happening out around the rest of the layout there. And also later on, I've got one turnout, and I'm going to be hooking up push-pull rods. So all of my turnouts are operated by push-pulls. So I'm going to be showing you how I use push-pull rods to not only change the turnout, but to switch the polarity of the turnout for reliable running. So stay tuned, and all that's yet to come. Okay, so showing you what I've been up to, starting off at the locomotive depot side of the Clyde yard is obviously my loco depot. So I've got where the two locomotives are sitting, I've got two inspection pits, the Pico inspection pits that they're there. This will be enclosed with an engine shed. I'll still have to extend the back seam, but the engine shed's going to be sitting where those locos are. This track here is also another track for the loco shed. Now that'll be storage, loco storage, or refueling, etc. If I just move back a little bit and give you a bit more, this is a part of the yard here. The two tracks you see up the top there, they're basically like yard leads, so they'll allow a train to come up to reverse in to any of these sidings here. So I've just been through the last couple of days just wiring up these tracks and basically just testing to make sure everything runs right and everything's electrically correct. So I've sort of got where I want to be with this so far. I've got a couple of my wagons I've made up there just helping me test out, and one wagon's still to be painted yet. but we'll get there. And basically what's been happening is over the last couple of days I've been wiring up these these push-pull turnouts. So we'll get on to that and I'll show you what happens underneath. Okay, so if you're an electrician or you're squeamish about bad wiring, I'd suggest you look away now. This is the underneath of the layer, the baseboard, and I'll just show you my my push-pull rod situation there. So these will activate the turnouts. The end of the rod is a paper clip connected, and that paper clip goes up through the tie bar hole in the turnout on top of the layer, and that's what switches the turnouts. These are just 6mm dowels cut to length with a hole drilled in the end and the paper clips inserted in the end and bent up through a hole in the baseboard to the turnout. Now the switches here are the micro switches, so they're on a spring. If you can hear that clicking as I push that in. So as the turnout is pushed, you'll hear a click. As soon as that click happens, the polarity is changed. And I'm not too sure if it shows up too well on the video, but there's a green wire here. And that wire there is wired to the frog of the turnout above on the baseboard. The red and the yellow wires are power wires that come straight from the bus, from my bus line. So at each which way you have the turnout switched, it's always allowing straight power straight from the bus, and it changes the polarity as it's switched to the whole frog of the turnout. Now I've done this on inchel frog turnouts. It's a lot easier with with electro frog turnouts, and I've also got inchel frog turnouts which I've modified so that all switch blades, stock rails, switch rails, everything is all electrified to the correct polarity that the switch is thrown at. So that's basically the easiest way that I can come up with without buying expensive switch machines. I know the switch machines like the Cobalt switch machines and Tortoise change the polarity for you, but at the price of those are at the moment, and if you've got quite a few turnouts, this is definitely a fail-safe way of doing it. Now if you're running DCC, I run DC, I'm still old school. If you're running DCC and you want to change your turnouts via your controller, obviously you won't be able to do this at all. You will need a switch machine. But if you're running simple switching layout, I don't need to run X amount of trains. I don't need to listen to train sounds or train horns or run multiple trains on multiple tracks. So I don't. That's just my preference. So I stick with DC, and this is the best way I can change turnouts and polarity at the same time without having to harvest an organ to go and buy switch machines, etc. Okay, so moving on, we've gone over to the other side of the layout room there. This is the turnout in question we're going to be wiring up. This is electro frog turnout, and whenever you're using these for switching polarity, you're going to remember you always must have insulating joiners on these two rails here all the time. Otherwise you will change the polarity, it'll just short out. So you must have these two rails insulated. Rest of them, that's fine, metal rail joiners, whatever your scenario is. So this is the one we're going to add on the wires, and we're going to add in the push-pull rods. So stick around. So the dowel that we're using for these push-pull rods, it's a 6mm dowel. I get this from the local Bunnings, and these come in 1.2 metre lengths, and they're nice and sturdy and strong. And so what we'll do is we'll drill a hole in the end there, and we'll bend up a paper clip. I'll show you how to do that, and glue it on in, and we'll get it ready to be put onto the layout. So first of all, we need to get the length of the dowel that we're going to be using. So the best idea is sit the dowel so the edge of it is right by the tie bar on the turnout, and measure it to the edge of the baseboard. You want to leave probably about 30 or 40 mil sticking out of the fascia. Give a little bit of a mark there. And using a small saw and a mitre box, I just cut through where I put in my mark. And using a small pin vise or drill, I just drill a small hole in the end of it that will accept the paper clip. Just be careful not to drill into your fingers. Okay, so get the paper clip ready. This is just a normal, I guess you get, it says 50 mil on the packet if you want to get really technical. It's just a paper clip bit. Right, to bend them out. And get them, see if I can get them as straight as I can. Sort of want a really 90-degree angle. The best I can. And this is the section we want here, this L shape here. I'll give that a snip. Right there, use that for the next one if you want another one. So that's what we're basically looking for there. It's just an L shape, nothing too special at all. And usually what I do, I put a couple of dabs of super glue just on the end there. And then just insert the wire into the hole we drilled, and you will need a pair of pliers to sort of push it down in there, to seat it all the way down in. And that should be good. So we've basically got L-shaped wire sticking out the end of the dowel. Okay, so now we've got a push-pull rod with the paperclip metal bit in the end there. I mean, you could use brass wire if you want. You could use any sort of wire. It's got to be strong and not really able to bend that easy. So we got this here ready, and you want to make sure you do leave plenty of wire here. So there's going to be, you'll need to cut some off when it goes to the top of the turnout. But yeah, don't leave yourself short on that there. So what we're going to do, we're going to mark out exactly where it's going to go. So we want to be sitting push-pull rod basically where it is. Now, because the turnout's on a bit of an angle, we sort of want to, we'll put our hole there on a bit of an angle so we're not putting too much sideways stress on the turnout as we turn it. And just with the pencil, just mark on the edge of the fascia where it's going to go. Now for the layout baseboard, this here is a 12mm. This is 12mm thick, so when we drill a hole in, we've got to make sure that we are more than 12mm away from the top, otherwise we're drilling into the side of the baseboard. We just want to clear, don't want it down too low, too high obviously, you won't get through it, but just right to the underneath of the baseboard there, and we'll drill a hole in there. Lined up and marked up, we'll set our drill on our mark, we'll put our hole through. I give the front a little bit of a sand just to tidy it up a little bit there. Okay, so just before we install the rod underneath, I use these, they're like cable clips, I suppose you can call them. I've got the box there somewhere. Yes, I do. I got the box, but for some reason I've taken the label off it. But yeah, you find them in like hardware stores. They're just for clipping up cables and stuff. So these are 6mm diameters, and they fit perfectly onto the push-pull rods. Now, before we put the push-pull rod under the layout, clip this on. It's got a screw. That's what's going to hold it underneath the layout as it push-pull. So we'll get under there, and we'll attach this up, and we'll get it hooked into the turnout there, and we'll see how we go. So the rod's now inserted in there, and I've gone underneath and I've pushed the metal pin, if you can see that, up through the hole in the tie bar there. Now that's sticking up proud at the moment, so what you want to do is you want to get a dog clip or something just to clamp onto it so it doesn't fall back down through the baseboard. And we'll get underneath the baseboard and we'll screw up that the push-pull rod to the underneath. So here we are now, we're under the baseboard. This green wire here, I didn't show that before because it was already soldered. It looks blue on camera, but trust me, it's green.
This wire is actually connected up through the baseboard to the frog on the turnout above. So that'll be connected up to our micro switch shortly, so we'll just leave that out of the way in the meantime. Got the metal, the cable clamp just sitting there on that push-pull rod, so what I got to do, sorry about the lighting, is I just got to screw that up underneath the baseboard there. And so that'll stop the push-pull rod from coming in and out there. So just got to, like so. Now once that's screwed in, we can take the dog clip clamp off the top of the turnout, because we're not worried about this falling back out again, and we get on to the next stage. And of course, as we as we move on, we just want to make sure that everything tests out properly. So just make sure that the turnout still flicks across nice and neat. We're not taking the spring out of these like you do with switch machines. We need the spring in them, so there's no other modifications to this turnout needs to be done. Just obviously the wire that wires underneath to the frog here, that green wire I showed you before. But yeah, keep the spring in there. All that needs to happen is just this bit of wire needs to poke up through the hole in the tie rod there, and you get that nice satisfying click. So with everything working fine, we'll move on to the next stage, and we'll show you how I put in these micro switches. Okay, so as I was going on about these micro switches, now I get these from a place called J-Car. I'm here in Australia. I'm not too sure. I mean, all good electronic stores maybe can grab them. Now these things are over here. They're $4.50 Australian each, and they're single pole double throw switch, and they're rated for 250 volts or 5 amps, which is definitely well rated for what we're using them for. And they're actually relatively quite easy to put in. So we got, this is a used one, obviously. This came off the old Willow Creek and Willow Creek subdivision. See, there you go, I've already forgotten the name of old layout already. Yeah, these come off the old Willow Creek subdivision. So basically the two prongs here are the power off the bus, and the last prong that comes out the side here, that's the wire that goes to the frog. That's the green wire, will be soldered to that. Now there is a little bit of, when I first put these in, as to which wire goes to there to come off the bus, because obviously we're going to be changing polarity. We want them to be wired up properly. If for one reason they aren't, you could just swap those around, and if your locomotive starts shorting. Now the good thing about these actuator arms, you can see there's a little tab in it out there, so you can actually bend these, you can cut them. You'll find when you put these in, they might have too much spring, and if the spring in your turnout is a little bit weak, they might actually just continuously keep throwing your turnout the opposite direction. But what you can do with these is you can bend this actuator arm to lessen the impact, to lessen the impact on your switch there. So you can actually adjust them, very fine little adjustments, and they're very handy. Came across these a few years ago when I started building the Willow Creek subdivision. I was thinking of ways, I was thinking of toggle switches and stuff to change it, but I actually did a little bit of research, come up with these. I mean, it's probably not groundbreaking technology, but that's what you want to be looking for, and these have saved my bacon I don't know how many times. So yeah, we'll go ahead, we'll wire this up, and I'll show you how we put them in. Okay, so here's my very crude wiring diagram. So basically what I've drawn on my baseboard is the micro switch, and now it always pays to color code your wires. If you're running, you can choose whatever color wire you want, as long as you color code your wires. It just makes life a lot easier. Trust me, you probably already know this, but anyway. So I run a red and yellow wire sort of system. So I only run the red and the yellows from my bus. That's everything's powered by red and yellow. And how I remember that is red for rear, for the rear rail. Okay, so as I'm looking at this is my railway track. As I'm looking at this track, the rail that's at the back, the rear, is red. The rail that's closest to you is yellow. So red for rear, and then the yellow for the front. And then obviously green is your frog wire. Green for frogs. For the frog wire is the easiest way to remember it. If you're running, people run a red and black. It could be black to the back, or but yeah. So that's how I do it. I run a red and yellow, and the easiest way to remember. So please try and color code your wiring, and it makes life a lot easier. So as I'm getting set up for soldering here, as I said, this one's been used before. You can see the bits of solder on it from the previous layer. I like to have an old clamp, just a little cheap plastic clamp, just to hold it. I mean, you might have something else, but just whatever's going to hold it in place, and like that. Now, because we had a relatively cool day today here in Western Australia. We're only get to about 34, 35 degrees today, so it's not too bad. But sitting inside soldering with a hot soldering iron when it's 41, 42, 43 degrees isn't fun. But I'll make an allowance for this one today. And although I'm not an electrician, I'm not a solderer, I'm going to go and bite the bullet, and I'm going to do it on national TV. So bear with me. Okay, so now I'm back. So I've basically put the wire on there and I've twisted it around the little hole. Now the soldering iron will be nice and hot now because it's just taken me 40 minutes to go and find my flux. So the iron will be nice and hot, so here goes. Right, after I solder each joint, I'll give it a little tug test. And as long as you say, that's not going anywhere, that's not going anywhere. Does look messy because there is obviously solder in it from the previous layer, but hey, that is what we need. Beautiful. Okay, now onto the yellow wire. We'll flip the switch around. Let's see if we can do it onto the yellow wire. I reckon it's not going anywhere. Okay, so we're back under the layout now, and what I did off camera is I soldered on the green wire that comes from the frog, and I've soldered it to the top part of the micro switch. We've got the two yellow wires that will go to our power bus. Now, if you're wondering before in the earlier the video why my pencil has got such a long lead in it, it's because the holes in these, when I put it up against the baseboard, I need to be able to get the pencil in there and sort of mark where I need to drill. Because I'm using little small screws to drill this into the baseboard, it's hard to screw them straight into the wood. So I just drill a small pilot hole to start them off, and it makes it so much easier. So what we'll do, not very majestic, set it up, we'll get the micro switch to where we need it, and with the push-pull rod pulled all the way back towards me, I push the edge of the actuator arm of the micro switch up against it until I hear a click. When I hear a click, I just back it off a little bit till I can hear a click again. So when this push-pull rod is pulled back towards me, the switch should not be activated. It should only be activated when I push the push-pull rod, then it should make a click. Pull it back, no click. So where I've got it, where it's not going to make a click, I use my pencil, I go up and I mark these holes, and I know exactly where I need to drill to start these pilot holes off. Okay, so now with the little holes drilled there, it's time to screw it up. I'm using these little tiny screws, and like 15 mil long. You don't want them too fat, because what happens is if you try and screw fat screws through this casing here, it'll just crack and you destroy the switch. So the smaller the better, and they have to be at least long enough just to get through the micro switch casing. So I'll sit that up there and put that into place. Just use a hand screwdriver for this. You don't want to be destroying the switch by using a power drill or something. Right, so it's the first screw in. Okay, so just finishing off from that last screw there. And as before, just make sure that everything still works before moving on to the next. You get that nice satisfying click. So I'm happy with that. Once we're happy with that, this isn't applying too much pressure. So when it's pushed in, it's not applying too much pressure, it's pushing the rod back. We're good, we're happy. It's just a matter of hooking these two red and yellow wires up to my bus line, which is right in front of us here, which I'm going to hook straight into this terminal block here. Once that's done, I'll go around with cable ties and just tidy it up, make it sort of all neat. And just like that, we have basically made our own push-pull rods that switches the polarity all in one. So I'm very happy how that went actually. So I'll go ahead, I'll wire up those two wires, and we'll run a loco over it and we'll see what happens, see if I actually know what I'm talking about. Okay, so here we are, moment of truth. Don't forget to snip the remainder of that paper clip. Remember how I said was poking through the turnout there? And everything looks pretty good, and I still got to put my little dowel bead on the end of my what do you call it? The end of the push-pull rod there, just to make it look fancy. So we're going to bring a locomotive over it now, and actually the locomotive is actually working now, which is a good sign. I've got no shorts. Let's see how this turnout works. We've got DJ 3332. So far so good. It actually worked pretty well. So we must have done something right. No shorts, nothing. So we've got 100% power through the switch rails, through the frog, through everything, just from the use of a small little micro switch and a wooden dowel push-pull rod. Stuff about there. See if we can go it the other way. Well, I think that's a success, to be honest. Definitely a success there, I reckon. And it's good testing with DJs because they've got that centre bogey, so they're really picky locos. If they're gonna derail, they'll definitely be the ones to derail. No, so I'm very, very happy with that. Absolutely happy with that. And if you want to do this, you've got a better way, by all means, go ahead. I'm basically, the whole point of this video was just showing you how I did things. If you want to do things maybe on a budget, I know these things can be quite expensive. You know, if you've got a large layout with heaps of turnouts, it can add up and be quite expensive. And this thing here, I think it was only $4.50 for the switch, and probably I couldn't tell you how much the paper clips were, and it's about $3 or something for the wooden dowel that I used from Bunnings. So it's quite cheap, and it's very it's easy. It's also, yeah, but anyway, hey, it's probably not groundbreaking, but if you watch this video and you picked up something, then I'm happy for you. That is great. Please throw anything in the comments. You want to know anything, put it in the comments there. If you haven't subscribe already. And there's plenty more videos that will be coming up in coming episodes. And we see 3332 coming back into the Clyde yard, making its way back to the loco shed.
and it's this is the first time I've ever modelled New Zealand Railways, so hopefully I do a little bit of justice, and I definitely need some support on the way, so definitely throw those comments in there, and hopefully together we can see if we can get this layout across the line and learn some new things along the way. Absolutely perfect. So sort of helping me along on my New Zealand themed layout, I went and I obviously need to purchase some wagons to run on the layout. Now I got these from South Dock, a company in New Zealand called South Dock Models, and they're pretty good to send all the way over to here in Western Australia. And no, they're extremely good kits. They're great kits to put together. I like them. I enjoy them. So I grabbed up these few at the moment, and I'll definitely be getting some more along the way. Also, I picked up one of these. It's a DSC kit from VCC Models. So I've yet to build that one up as well. So that'll go well. That'll sit well with my couple of DJs there. And see if I can build up. I sort of tried to aim to get wagons that would be specific for, I'm looking for on the Central Otago branches, fruit traffic, bitumen to supply the local road surfacing yard they had in Alexandra there. Also, mainly just fruit traffic, general freight, sand, gravel, all those. I wasn't sort of going to go all out on like tanker wagons. I have a UC, that's my bitumen tank wagon down there. I have an asphalt plant that I've also picked up as well. I just can't find it. Oh, here it is. This is asphalt plant that I picked up from Walters. It is HO, but that's going to be modified, and there's going to be a Fulton Hogan, eventually a Fulton Hogan asphalt plant. They did have a spur in Alexandra to the road surfacing plant there, and they actually, I'm not too sure what they brought in, but hey, it's fictional and that's the story and I'm sticking with it. So yeah, that's my little stash of wagons there, and that should keep me busy over the time. I might do a couple of videos on building these things. I have noticed there is not so much content on YouTube about this, so yeah, I might do a couple of videos making them up, and we'll see how we go. So hey, thank you very much for sticking around. If you stuck around this long, then thank you so much. It means a lot to me to know that people are actually out there are willing to actually watch my stuff. And if you're interested in the New Zealand Railways, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And there's definitely going to be a lot more videos coming out about this scale. And thank you very much for joining me on this journey through this. Definitely going to be a lot of tips and tricks that you will have to tell me. I can't give you tips and tricks because that's not my thing. But thank you very much for sticking around. As I said before, hit that subscribe button. You'll be notified when new content comes on board. And I will hopefully I'm going to see you on the next one. So please stay safe, stay healthy, keep out of trouble, and we'll definitely see you back. Thanks everyone. Cheers.